Hello, everybody. It's me. It's Hazer. It's content week. I'm still here, still pumping it out. Put out that Neath speedrun this morning. That was an impromptu thing of the stream last night after our one SPL game. That was a lot of fun. If you missed that video, maybe check it out. Maybe it's a background noise kind of thing. Who knows? But this will also be a background noise one. I was a little bit hesitant to make this video, to be honest with you. It's going to be a video that's about the Valks and whether they should be allowed to play. Oh, my phone is not on silent. Great stuff. First time I've ever had my phone on loud in my life. I was expecting a phone call back about my bloody balcony door. But yeah, where was I going with this? Yeah, a little bit of a contentious topic I'm expecting. I'm wondering whether how the feedback on this is going to be. I'd ask you all to just be polite in the comments, however you want to, whatever opinions you want to put out there, just try and be nice about it. I'm sure people will hear you out. Let's not be rude to each other, but you know, that's a lot to ask when it comes to a YouTube comments section. But nonetheless, tangents. It's about the Valkyries and whether they should be allowed to play a game in each set next phase on EU servers for phase 3. So this is a discussion that's been ongoing since phase 1. There was talk of it happening in phase 2, but I believe it was basically voted down by the other players in the league, and I'll get onto that in a bit. If you don't know the current situation, basically, I'll go back to when teams were formed. Teams were formed at the start of the year, January, and you had to submit your team to High-Res or whatever we're calling them, Titan Forge, and the league ops and casters came together and looked at the different teams that were submitted and decided which ones got to be in the league. Valks were one of the later ones to be chosen, but they signed up with an all-EU roster. At the time, I don't think anybody expected there to be major issues with visas. With everything being moved in-house, previously we'd had visa issues, but it'd come down to it being orgs doing things badly. This year, with it being all high-res, we were thinking that the visa issues wouldn't happen. It'd be like, you know, the competent orgs from last year got people through, as opposed to the bad orgs like the Renegades, who totally fucked everything up, to put it politely. But that turned out not to be the case, and now we've got some teams with players stuck in EU. You've got the Kings, they've got a couple players. You've got the Warriors, they've got a couple players, and you've got all 5 of the Valks, 6 if you include their coach Tigress, which we don't. But yeah, all 5 of these players are stuck in Europe and playing games on North American servers, which means their ping ranges somewhere between maybe 110 and 180, maybe 200 for Johnny. I know he's the furthest east, so he probably, I believe he has the worst ping. Zeros has shown he's had some bad ping as well. Now, I guess the first thing I want to say is we can't put everything that's going on with the Valks onto ping, and I'm not here to do that. I think the ping does have a knock-on effect onto motivation and onto practice and onto all sorts of things, which could, you know, be pretty detrimental. But I think if you look at individual players and you look at the heights that people like Big Man Tings and Genetics have hit this season with the Kings, their first seed, going into the playoffs coming up this weekend, and they've been 2 of the best players on their team. I don't think anybody would be surprised to see them, you know, at the top of their role in any power rankings that anyone would happen to do. They've been fantastic, and they've shown that you can get by without the ping. I mean, that could be a role-specific thing. Dardez has definitely struggled on ping, so has Neil. For the Warriors, Cuvo as well in the jungle, and we've definitely seen that jungle frailty, I guess, in the Valkyries as well. Johnny's had a couple gods who he's been able to perform on, but mostly has really struggled. Emel's struggled with the ping, although not as much as I would have thought. I thought ADC would maybe be the most affected role, but I think Emel's done relatively okay compared to the rest of the Valks. But anyway, what I'm saying is, I don't think the reason the Valks are bottom of the league is all ping. But they are definitely the bottom team. They won 1 game in phase 1. They won no games in the phase 1 round robin that we had at the end of phase 1 before the playoffs. And they've won 1 set, rather. They've won 1 set in phase 1, and they've won 1 set in phase 2. Phase 1, they won a set against the only Warriors, who also only won 1 set in phase one. A lot of people will have forgotten that, and then they ended up qualifying for the playoffs through that group stage. In phase two, they've won a set against the Solar Scarabs when they were playing with a sub. They were playing with Slaney. So yeah, their performance has definitely been disappointing. And this is... So, I mean, I guess the first thing to get into is the fairness aspect for the Valks, and whether it would be more fair to allow them to play a game on EU servers. It's not really their fault that they're stuck in EU. You know, they signed up to the league. I want to make this clear. I think there's some people misunderstand the situation. All the EU players signed up to the league with the expectation of moving out to North America. I don't think it's a secret that that's why Tigris is the coach of this team as well. It's because Raffer wouldn't have moved to the US again without his girlfriend. He'd just spent a year there, unable to travel home to visit her. So I think that's why they made that appointment, to try and bring Raffer into the team and bring his experience and his, you know, ability into the roster over anybody else they could have got. So these players signed up. They wanted to, well, they were willing to move to do this job. At the end of the day, this is their job. They're playing at a disadvantage. I find it hard to find an equivalent in normal sports, you know, like you would think, you know, it's a small ping disadvantage. I don't know how many of you will have played on different servers or whatever, but when it comes to being, you know, that you're in the group of the best players in the world, you're competing with the other best players in the world, and very small margins decide games, and very small margins affect the game a lot of the time. And this ping disadvantage, I think, is pretty significant. Although, again, we've seen with the Kings, you can overcome it. And really, really impressive by that. It's totally out with the video, but that is kind of crazy that they've gone first seed with 2 EU players. But yeah, I don't know if there's a sort of equivalent to it in modern day sports. Maybe you could say, like, you know, you're running the 100 meters and you're wearing trainers and they're all wearing spikes or whatever it is that runners run. I don't know. I'm grasping here, haven't I? But this small disadvantage is significant. There's money on the line. You know, this is their job. They're competing for money. They're out here trying to compete. They're playing at a disadvantage, and there's Worlds qualification implications in next phase, I believe. Although I think you have to get to the final of the phase 3 playoffs or something to get any. I'm not sure how it works, but I think as things stand at the moment, it would be hard to argue that the Valks are going to be missing out on Worlds qualification if this is the difference. But maybe if they were in NA the whole time, they wouldn't be. So I think fairness for the Valks is something I'd put forward. I'm trying to approach this from an unbiased standpoint, but I do have an opinion. Like, I think I would prefer it this way, purely for the viewer experience. I go out and I stream these games, and everybody comes into chat and they come to watch these games, and watching the Valks games these days, these sets, you come in and you're prepared for disappointment. You're ready for a boring, mediocre set with a team who lacks confidence, lacks the mechanical equivalents of the other teams, and they come through and you expect them to get smashed, and you expect it to be boring most of the time. You know, they've had a few novel strategies, like the Kronos and Neath stuff was cool, the Loki jungle. Raph started playing Athena recently, so they are trying at least, but it's pretty dry to watch. I think changing it up to have a game on EU would be a better viewer experience for me. I don't know if you would all agree, because I would find it interesting to see how the different teams deal with it. I'd like to see, you know, like Dardes and Cuva on EU ping, see how they do against the Valks. I would find it interesting to see the difference between, like, maybe the Bolts and the Dragons, and see how they each deal with the ping, see how they decide to play around it, and see the different strategies that teams come up with to deal with the ping. And I just think it would be novel, you know, it would be new. It would be interesting to see the different way that the teams in North America and the teams partially in North America deal with the challenge of playing on higher ping. I think that would be better than what we've got at the moment, which is, you know, every Valks set. I'm prepared to be disappointed, and I'm still disappointed with what I see. You could argue the other way, I suppose. You could say that maybe NA teams playing on EU servers would be a bad viewing experience, maybe a bit confusing to see it for more casual viewers. I'm not sure. I personally think it would be a better viewer experience for the fans. I think a much more salient point and a much stickier point for me to argue around is the practice problem for NA teams. That would mean that each of the teams that's based, in North America, or each of the other 7 SPL teams basically has 2 games, not even 2 sets, 2 games a phase. So the 2 games in phase 3, it would be double round robin, I would assume. So they play the Valks twice, and they would play on EU servers twice. 2 total games, and it's unlikely that they're going to want to put the time into practice for that. It's unlikely that that's going to be worth them switching off of their servers to play for this one game, messing with their practice regimen. And I think that would be a big point of the teams that are, against this. It's worth noting that all of the other teams will probably be against this, because it's just worse for them. There's no two ways about it. They're more likely to win if all the games are on NA servers. So it's unlikely, if this were ever to go to any kind of a vote between the SPL teams, it's never going to go through, because the players, they're voting, do I want an advantage or do I want a disadvantage? At the end of the day, they're friends, and Smite's not like that cutthroat a game, I don't think, in terms of the comp environment. But these players are still there to win, and they're not going to vote for a change which makes their playing experience more uncomfortable and makes them less likely to win. So any change that comes through in this to change to this format would have to come from the admins. I think they'd have to stand up and be like, nope, we're doing it, which is a difficult thing for them to do, because it's gonna, it's 7/8 of the league is gonna be, well, maybe not 7/8. I know some players have been like, I don't really care, I would do it either way, but 7/8 of the league or thereabouts are going to be against it. So that's part of the practice problems. Another point that some might make is that the Valks would maybe just lose anyway, whether it would just artificially move every Valks set to a 2-1 loss. I mean, at that point, I think if you argue that it artificially moves every Valks set to a 2-1 loss, then you're giving them carte blanche not to care about the season either. If you're making that point as like an NA player or whatever, saying that it would just mean that every set's going to be a 2-1 loss, to the Valks are going to lose every set 2-1 because it's impossible to win on the other team's servers, then what's the point in them showing up? Other than the fact they're getting paid to do so. Some people would argue that the Valks don't seem to put enough effort into the league. I think you've seen and heard things about the fact that they don't scrim on NA servers and they don't play a lot of NA ranked, which I think is a salient point and a fair point. I would like to have seen them playing more NA ranked and scrimming on NA if they were to be competing that way. I did speak to one of the Valks about that. I was told that they were scrimming NA teams initially, and then they swapped to scrimming EU only once they thought or realized that they were no longer going to be able to travel throughout the whole year. They swapped to scrimming EU only to practice for Worlds, as playing certain picks on ping is difficult / impractical. But I have heard that they'll be scrimming on NA for phase 3, so they've obviously changed that up. I think they've seen their results and decided the EU scrim thing probably was not working very well, so they've decided to scrim NA for phase 3. So maybe we'll see some improvement regardless of whether we see any kind of server change. So yeah, I mean, as I say, I can empathize with both sides in this, definitely. I feel bad for the Valks because, I mean, I do it, we all do it. They just get shit on by everybody in the scene, whether that's on the server or out of the server. You see Reddit posts weekly being like, why are these guys in the league? It's like they're not trying, they don't deserve to be here, which can't be nice to read. I think there might be a little bit of a misunderstanding of what's going on. I mean, it's tough. You don't see, at least I don't see people saying, sometimes I do actually, but not as often. You don't see people being like, why is Darda still in the league? Why is Cuvo still in the league? Players who have arguably had as low lows as the Valks individually. Why is Neil still in the league? He's had a pretty bad time playing from Western Canada. I think the Valks do get it worse than most, and that's just because their whole team's getting crushed, I guess, and maybe they're slightly less, I guess, out there on social media and stuff like that. You don't hear much from anybody except Ducky on that team, I feel. But I definitely feel for them. I think it would be a really tough situation to be in. And I'm just sick of watching the NA, them just get crushed, you know, to be frank. I think this would maybe breathe some fresh air into them, you know, give them a little bit of confidence playing that one game on you. They're thinking, you know, we just need to win one game in this set on NA servers, and maybe they'll come in with more novel strategies, and they'll, you know, work harder, and they'll feel more motivated, which is what I want. I just want the league to be as competitive as it can be, and I think this is a step towards that. You know, I think worst comes to worst, they do get stomped in the NA games and they win the EU games, and those games are still not the best to watch. We get 2-1s instead of 2-0s, and they're kind of artificially lengthened, and it's not a great viewing experience. I think that's the worst that comes to the worst, but I think we know what it looks like. We've watched 2 phases of what it looks like watching the Valks play on NA only against these other teams, and I think it's been pretty disappointing, to say the least. It's not good, and I think this is the best thing for the league, personally. But yeah, I'd be super interested to hear all of your thoughts, chat. How long have we gone? 16 minutes of talking. Havering, that's what we call it. This is definitely havering. I did have some notes this time. I had some notes. I had a chat with a player who was against the move, and I had a chat with a Valks player who was for the move, to try and make sure that my points, I wasn't missing much there. The only other thing that I didn't mention there was Neil's ping was mentioned. He's already playing on EU, and if the games were moved to EU servers, it would be, you know, even higher ping for him. But I think he's moving to Georgia for phase 3 anyway. I believe he's going to be moving soon, although we've heard that a few times, so you never know. But hopefully it wouldn't be, you know, doubling Neil's ping, going from 200 to 280, or from 150 to 200 or whatever. I don't know. Whatever. Hopefully it wouldn't make it worse for Neil. Hopefully he'd be, well, I mean, it would make it worse than just being on NA servers, but hopefully it wouldn't be him still being in West Coast Canada, which is pretty far away from Europe. Yes. Is that it? Is that all I had to say? Maybe. That was probably too much. I had too much to say. As I said, please try and keep the comments civil. Let me know what you think. I'm interested to hear if there's anything you thought I missed there, or any points you thought I didn't, I was wrong about, I didn't cover adequately. Feel free to let me know. I'm definitely interested to hear the different points of view on this, because I think it is a subject that there's not a right answer to. You know, there's going to be advantages and disadvantages of both ways, but personally I lean more towards I would like to see them play a game every set on EU. But we'll see. Cool. Thanks everybody for watching. I've been Hazer. This has been Havering about the Valkyries. I'm going to try and get some more content out the rest of this week. I did have a paddling pool arrive, so we might have some sort of a hot tub / power ranking stream in the near future, if I can figure out what the heck I'm doing around that. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled. I'll be trying to put out videos every day this week still. So thanks very much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe, bell, whatever the heck else you people do. I'll see you for sure for playoffs this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Exciting times. I'll have to put out some predictions for that as well once we know which side of the brackets the Kings have picked. I don't think we know yet, so I'll put out a predictions video once we know about that. Thanks very much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye.